believe it's already time we took another look at the month ahead. These months just seem to fly by, and this particular month is already the start of a new year. Just a heads up, we will be looking at the year ahead, both politically and for you, in January. So watch out for those broadcasts on the 13th and 20th of January 2017. This is just our usual month ahead. I know that some of you were expecting to see an interesting interview last week. Sometimes our broadcasting schedule doesn't work out quite the way we want it to work, and so you'll be seeing that interview with medicine woman Kerry-Ann Ansari next week, so make sure you tune in for that. But for now, we do need to talk about what's going on now in our own little world. First, just a general thing. Some of you have heard about this phenomenon called Mercury retrograde. The planet Mercury has an optical illusion, like most of the planets, that it appears to go backwards every now and then for a few weeks at a time, and this would be one of those times. It's just going into its retrograde mode now and will continue through into the first week of January for that. So what does that really mean? A lot of people say a lot of quite hectic stuff about Mercury retrograde. The bottom line really is that most people find things tend to go a little bit more wrong during Mercury retrograde periods. Certainly stuff goes wrong all the time, and this is the trivial stuff. It's miscommunications, misunderstandings, pressing the send button when you shouldn't have, which isn't always so trivial, and sometimes just things breaking down. While that does happen all the time, much more than we'd ever want it to happen, it really does seem that during these Mercury retrograde periods, it happens a lot more than it should. So best thing I always say is just to make sure you're doing things like backing up, read before you send on that send button, and being careful not to get into arguments or fights over small trivial things, because it mostly is the trivial stuff, and we really don't need to let that get us down. In truth, the phenomenon is not nearly as dramatic as popular astrology sometimes makes us believe. So all we need to do is just be a little bit more aware when those things are happening in our own lives, so that we don't sweat the small stuff, because sometimes that's a little bit about what it's all about, just learning not to sweat the small stuff. The other important cosmic news, of course, is that the solstice just happened 2 days ago, and the solstice, that day in which the sun seems to stand still for 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of December, meaning that it doesn't shift its position relative to the Earth as far as we can see, and it also produces what for us in the Southern Hemisphere, the longest day and the shortest night, and it's called Midsummer's Day, but it really does represent the beginning of summer as we experience and measure summer as ordinary earthlings. Think about it. The hottest months here are January and especially February. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you know the coldest months are January and especially February, and this would be the beginning of winter. So we call it Midsummer's Day because it's based on the journey of the sun, which is now halfway through its journey through the Southern Hemisphere. So that's Midsummer's Day. But our own experience is that it gets hotter from here. More important, though, is what's happening for you personally, never mind the cosmos as a whole. So let's have a look at your month ahead. Starting off with the cardinal signs for the month ahead, that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Your message for the month is go for it. This is the go-ahead month for you. You need to get things going and get running as soon as the year does, and you will be able to gain the advantage. It's kind of all about timing for you in the next month, and most of the time, that timing is about rushing ahead. For Aries, it's time to get out the old stuff, clean out the old, clean out the house especially, whether it's renovating, whether it's getting rid of people or things or whatever's in that house, or just really getting a fresh start in some way. This is the time to make that physical, make that tangible in your actual environment in terms of starting something completely new. It might also be that there are changes happening and there's other stuff happening in the home, and you actually need to deal with that, and you might have been avoiding dealing with that. So it's kind of like it's time to react, it's to get into action, it's to say what you've been feeling or thinking or whatever the case may be, because this is the time that you're going to make progress in doing that. Do expect that it won't always go down well, and there will be some unexpected little losses along the way, but nothing serious, because you're in major clean out mode. And if there ever was a good time to get rid of and experience loss, well, that's when you're in a clean out mode. It's like you're causing the best kind of losses for you. Keep on throwing it out. While we're in go ahead mode, it's a little bit different for Cancerians. This week has been the last quarter of the moon, which might have increased some of your sensitivity. And for Cancerians this month, there's a lot to do with not being oversensitive. So that means that you need to be aware in terms of people in your working environment and people in your home environment that you are not overreacting. Because it's a strong reactive month for the cardinal signs, you might be a little bit stronger than you expect to be or short-tempered than you expect to be. Some of you will find yourself trying to keep the peace in the domestic environment and in the professional environment. That's not going to really work that well when you are needing to assert what you want. Easier said than done. Decisions might not be generally a trouble for you, but this month looks like you are going to have some trouble making decisions. So just go for it. Don't concentrate on keeping the peace. Concentrate on what you need and what you need to do, and even what your feelings are about. And like that, you're in a much better position to make choices and decisions, because there isn't a right choice or decision. Kind of like it doesn't matter what you decide. It matters that you decide. Stick to the program, go for it, and you'll be able to benefit from that decision in your go for it first month of the year. Good time to be doing that. Librans, you are the ones who traditionally do have the bigger problems deciding, and this might be the time when you are tested in a similar way. But it's really that you are in overreaction mode, like all of the cardinal signs, and that is affecting your usually good fairness and balance skills. I nearly said good decision-making skills. You are a little bit too good at making decisions. You weigh things up so much that you can't really tell what's good and what's bad. So you need to really just trust yourself a little bit more and realize now is not the time to apply too much emotion into your decisions. You need to be practical and realize, just like your Cancerian friends, what is best for you. It is easier said than done in the work environment, and it does look like you might be facing difficulty or opposition from someone at work. Most likely either someone in a position of power or someone who's got an ability to influence whatever's happening in your life at work. That's where you want to keep your reaction, I want to call it calm and clinical. Don't get into a whole emotional thing. Be clear on your choices and decisions. Keep them somewhat centered around your own goals, and you'll be able to move through that quite easily. You are very good at keeping the peace in general, and you will find January is a great month for people. So apply those skills into your working environment once you get going in the work environment for the new year, and you'll find that actually you stay on top, and it's kind of like you're acting with a bit of leadership, which is a great way to go. Capricorns, it's your birthday month, and what could be better for going forward and stepping forward than good old this is your time. Typically it takes until after your actual birthday before you can really get the show on the road, but once you're there, charge forward. Having said that, I do need to warn you that there's a little bit of a 2 steps forward, 1.5 steps back, sometimes 2 steps back going on initially. So even though I've said that, it might seem like it takes a little while to get the year really going and to get the month really going. But for the most part, from the outside, not much is happening. From the inside, a lot of progress is happening. There's also some unfinished business or some behind the scenes business that needs to be dealt with, whether it's private stuff or behind the scenes stuff. This is a time when you can benefit from help in that regard. So you might have to let someone in on your secret or get to work behind the scenes with you. Sometimes that means simply admitting something that you're not good at, and that's where you can get some help. But this is your birthday. Take advantage of that. People want to help you and want to go forward with you, and you are going to make a lot of success in that regard. Anything that is personal, own goals, the things that require you to innovate something new or do something differently. In fact, you can make 2017 a pretty different year for yourself just by concentrating on your birthday month. So make some New Year's resolutions to change what you need to change. Looks like this time you'll be able to do it. fixed signs. And for the fixed signs, this is the month of sticking with what you love. Taurians are good at knowing what it is that they love, and pleasure and love and good things are important to you. So this is a month of playtime, of fun, of children, of games. Once you get into the working mode for January of 2017, this is also a time to make money from and benefit from your own skills, your own talents that you were born with. For those of you who've been holding back, who've been wishing you could do something you love more, or wishing that you could do something that really used the skills and talents that you know that you have, January is the time to get going with that. And even for those who don't acknowledge their talents, try something, make a little space for yourself in January. Go to that art class, or start taking yourself a little bit more seriously on something that others think is your gift or your special ability, even if you think it's ridiculous that they think so. This is the year where you can develop that, and it looks like you can even get money. Minimum for 2017 January is that you can get money from things that you are naturally gifted at. That's a good reason to get going on that. For Leos, it's going to be more dependent on other people than it really is for yourself. And you're needing to get resources, even sometimes money, from other people. Leos are not at all good on being dependent on other people, or not being entirely independent in some way. Well, maybe this is a great time to learn a little bit about not always being independent, and sometimes relying on and benefiting from other people's resources. You know, typically you're great at knowing what's best for people and what they're good at, and this can easily work as a two-way process. So they can benefit from your knowledge and skills, you can benefit from their resources. You might also find yourself kind of at the beck and call of other people at the moment. It's they who are controlling the show, not you, which is another lesson for Leos to learn. On the whole, you can say this is not a time for your usual assertiveness. This is a time for Leos to learn cooperativeness, peace and harmony, and let the year start quite slowly. See what it's like to be driven instead of to drive. You might actually get to like it. For Scorpios might not know quite where they stand at the moment. It's possible that the year has ended on an increasingly either vague or confusing kind of note, or petered out in some way, and it looks like you either drifting along or not sure of where you're going. Confusion reigns. All I can really say is you need to actually wait until February or March for your year to get going. You know, sometimes the year takes longer. Who says that it's January and your year is February, March? So because there's confusion and things are not entirely clear, you need to really concentrate on those that you love at this time. This is not a good time to get involved with new groups of people of any kind, or people that you don't know or can't trust. Doesn't mean that something bad is definitely going to happen to you, but it does mean that you really just you're not in a position to be a good judge of people at the moment. So sticking to people that you love is important. Even amongst those, though, it's a little bit like, this is a time in general where people might be quite disappointing. So this is also a good time to not have to rely or depend too much on what you get from them, and just realize I'm going slow, I'm planning my year, and everything is going to be fine. You might have to let go of some things. It could be a month of letting go of some losses happening, and the more you let go of, the more you clear your space, and a clear space is what you've been looking for. For Aquarians can also benefit from friends and loved ones, and there's nothing more that an Aquarian loves to do than to benefit from friends and loved ones, because you are the most friend-oriented of all the signs. So this is a time when your friends are going to be very supportive, and you're going to have to let go of some of the ways that you wanted to do something, or some of the beliefs that you have about something, and you're actually going to have to rely on the input of others at this time, which is something you probably won't have much difficulty doing. In terms of yourself, there's still a bit of a struggle between the old way, or the way that I want to do something, and the new way, the way that is actually required at this time. So this is a great time to be taking it as an opportunity to get input from others so that you might find and think of new ways to do things for yourself. It's okay. Some losses also coming for you, maybe a little bit of sadness this month. It is the month before your birthday, so that's not really so surprising. It's normal to feel a little bit of melancholy. Use that as a letting go period, and you can eventually start the year yourself when it gets to your birthday next month on a much friender, clearer note. In the meanwhile, holiday season, what could be better than friends? For the mutable signs, it's time to get a little bit personal. Time for behind the scenes for you. You are an adaptable, excitable sign. You probably love the fact that it's the holiday season and are having a good time. Maybe too much of a good time. Do you know that the good time signs are all in your department? Sagittarius and Pisces can easily overdo it at a moment's notice, but still, on the whole, this is really time to be doing things from behind the scenes. For Geminis, that is the personal is the body. This is the time to deal with some body unfinished business, whether it's the health issues that you haven't taken care of, more likely the diet issues that you need to attend to. Maybe you've just stressed yourself out a lot over the last year. Geminis have been working hard, and that could also be time to just take that break and de-stress. But on the whole, for Gemini, this is the time to deal with the old to prevent any problem in the future, and that's why we're talking about your body, even if it means going to the dentist. It can also be dealing with old conflicts or matters that have happened with other people. You heard me talking about Mercury retrograde earlier on. You're a sign that is more sensitive to it, and it can mean people and problems from the past returning. That's especially if some unfinished conflict exists. This will be the opportunity to finish it, to sort it out, to fix it, and to hopefully fix it with love at the end. So dealing with old stuff is preparation for a whole new exciting year. Use the whole of this first part of the year to do that, a little bit like clean your slate to go ahead into a great new year, and wait for the second half of January before you can get into a mode of going forward much more strongly. Virgos are the ones who seem to get to travel this month. Everyone wants to travel at this time of the year. Some of you might already be traveling. And Virgo, there's a lot of movement going on. Hopefully that means you're traveling. Could also mean there are lots of people coming to you, or lots of interaction with far off places in some way. If you're needing resources from other people or from far away, this is the time to rope them in as well. If you need to research or stretch far in order to get things, it is that kind of place, kind of month for you. On the subject of places and traveling, well, there is that dealing with the past that comes up for you during this month as well. Many of you will find opportunities to travel to places you have been to before. For once in life, this is a better time to travel to places you've been to before than to travel to places that are new and exciting. So why don't you give that a try? Some of you might have to travel to places you've been before, whether they are literally places or not, revisiting old stuff. So be nostalgic. Use it as the revisiting month. People, unfinished business, places, all of those things from the past that wrap up. You've still got a little bit of time, even though we're creeping into 2017 soon, to wrap up before the new year gets going. So remember that mutable theme? Time to wrap up. For Sagittarians are still having a good time. This is a good time to pursue some of the goals that had been ongoing over the last months. In fact, over the last couple of months, things have started to pick up, and now you can really get some important things done over the period of the next 4 even to 6 weeks. You will still need to do a lot of preparation, and there's a lot of hard work involved, but it does look like there's a lot of help and a lot of progress in all of your goals at this time. Especially rely on friends and old friends. Outside of goals, this is generally a good time for friends and old friends. Holiday season is a great time to be doing that. So the classical Sagittarian challenge is going to come up, and that is trying to do too many things at the same time. Remember, this is a time when you are really keyed to be able to finish some business goals, or at least set them up so that they are complete by the end of January. During January, that will also give you the opportunity to set some new goals for the year ahead. But on the whole, you're the mutable sign that breaks out of the theme and still manages to go forward. The behind the scenes stuff means don't ignore the preparation. You need to do the prep work. If you don't do the prep work, you're going to lose out. It's a little bit like, you have to do some of the slog in order to be able to go forward. That is really the lesson of this month for you, more than just a behind the scenes. And finally, Pisces, it's kind of like old stuff is haunting you. You've also got unfinished business to deal with, but it's not simply a case of practical details, wrap it up, like you've seen for some of the other mutable signs. It's almost like it's coming to haunt you. So there's unfinished business that has consequences, and some of those consequences are coming up now. Best thing to do under these conditions is to act graciously and considerately. The magic answer, and not a difficult one for a Pisces, is if at this time you do things with great consideration for others, that you're realizing that some consequences have come up, be the better person, take the higher road, yield, and allow the other victory, or concede that you did wrong or these consequences are bad or whatever. It's going to be great for you. It might sound like it's a challenging month, and it really isn't. It is going to be a good month. And that's one of the reasons why. There could also be personal goals, and personal goals that are not about dealing with the past are also going to provide benefits for you at this time. So whether it comes to the own goals or the conceding that what you didn't quite do right in the past, this is going to be a month where by doing that you clear the way, and sounds like you're preparing for a great year ahead. Like everyone else, make sure you listen in during January for a look at the whole year ahead, and we can see if, as we all hope, 2017 might be a little bit better than 2016. A few other questions. I received a question from Jonathan after last week's show about humility, and he was saying how, he's done spiritual practices on and off throughout his life. He often meditates, learns humility, the things I've started speaking about in our ongoing series on creating your own spiritual path. And Jonathan says that, so he goes on for a few months and then falls off the wagon, practices meditating and then falls off the wagon and isn't doing it anymore. He learns the lessons that we spoke about last week, the lesson of practicing humility, makes some progress, and then reverts back to what he was all about before. And he asks, does that mean I lose all my progress? This is a really difficult journey if you have to sustain it, and then the slightest thing that goes wrong and you're basically starting all over again. Well, the good news is that according to the spiritual traditions, you're not starting again. As you work spiritually on yourself, on your world, as you make that effort, it's a little bit like you burn karma as if it were fuel. The challenges and the difficulties, which we refer to as karma or from karma, are less than the amount of good spiritual work that you're doing. So gradually your good work outweighs the bad, and it's like it burns it. Think of it as fuel. Once you've burnt the fuel, it is burnt. So there isn't a regression. Of course, you can create lots of new karma, which is an altogether different story. But the fact is that the spiritual work that we do makes progress for us in our journey of the soul. And in order to go backwards, you'd have to literally do the opposite. Falling off the wagon just means you got stuck. Hopefully you won't do extra bad stuff while you're off the wagon, meaning just developing bad habits. But once you get back on the wagon, you can continue making progress and make progress based on where you were before. So it's always worth going forward, taking that step, getting back up on that so-called wagon, because every little step adds to the steps before, no matter how long ago they were. I also have time for a quick personal question from Maria, who asked, is this the time to leave her job? Maria, I looked at that chart and I can see that the job is looking oppressive and stuck at the moment, but sorry to say this is not quite the time to be leaving it. Good news is that's because it is going to improve a little bit in the first 2 months of next year, and then it looks like by the end of February you will get a chance to reconsider, and if at that time you still want to leave, that is likely to be a much better time for it. Expect that it is stuck and oppressive for now, but don't think that that means anything. Well, the season is upon us. For those of you celebrating Christmas this weekend, have a great Christmas. For those of you celebrating Hanukkah or anything else, have a great time with your holidays as well. And for everyone just having a festive time, remember to take it easy, to think of other people, be considerate, and think love. Remember, there are a lot of people who have it difficult at this time of the year, as we all know. So let's be aware and sensitive and considerate for each other. New Year is just around the corner. Can you believe it's just over a week away? So hopefully you will have a great celebration for that. I'll be speaking to you just before then, but make sure that you keep it safe and keep it full of love, and you'll be ready for a great new start in the new year. Remember also that the year ahead shows for yourself and for the country will be happening on the 13th and 20th of January of 2017. So be back from your vacation to join us then. If you have any kind of question, including a personal question, contact me at the usual address down here. You can also visit my website for more information about just about everything about me, almost. And I'll see you here next week as usual. Bye.